back to Real Talk. Today we talk about the smile and nod, what happens when you don't know very much English when you get on exchange, and how you overcome those challenges. We'll be with Ander, who's coming in live from Spain, talking about he went from very little to feeling super comfortable in English. We'll be right back with Ander. Welcome back to this week's episode of Real Talk. We're talking to Ander, who spent his year in Minnesota, calling in from Spain this evening. Hey Ander, what's up?
Hi Tanya, how are you? I'm so excited to talk to you.
I'm so excited. Ander's a part of the original student ambassador class and also was a summer ambassador, so any of you that are the class of 2018, you might remember his beautiful face from then. But this is great. This is so fun to talk about your year now that it's been, I guess, 2 years since you first arrived, which is wild. You're getting old. But just to get things started, I mean, I think it's always good to know, why did you come on exchange? Why did you decide to leave Spain and go live in the US?
It was kind of 50% my decision, 50% my mom's, because she knew there was something up with me, and I think I was kind of bored with my life here. I mean, everything was the same. High school it was like my fourth year of high school here, because it starts earlier in the US, and everything was like lame here, and I needed a change. But I mean, I couldn't say it by myself to my parents, and mom saw that, dude, you need something, you need a change. And well, we knew a couple of exchange students who had been to Texas and California, and well, they offered it to me, and I was like, yeah, I want to go to the US for a year. I mean, that was at first. Then I was like really scared, and I kind of doubted about it, but I ended up going. I don't regret at all.
You got on a plane, you flew west, you ended up in Minnesota, and you show up to the airport, and who is waiting there but your host family? What was it like the first time you met them with such little English knowledge?
Okay, I was super nervous about the thing, and then I didn't know how to introduce myself. Because in Spain, we've got this thing of like kissing 2 times women and shaking a man's hand. But I knew that in the States it wasn't like that. And I was like really nervous. And at camp they told us, well, then go and hug them. And I was like, okay, I'm going to hug them, but I don't really know them. And I don't know what to tell them. So it was like a really ridiculous situation at the Minneapolis airport.
And it's hard too, because I think you were spending so much time translating what was going on that it's hard to remember everything. So you arrived, you met your host family. Who was in your host family again? You had a brother?
I had a host brother. He was like the same age as me. So like between me, my cell phone with a translator and him, like we managed for a couple of weeks, like really roughly.
For a couple of weeks. So it took you like, you already went to school and you were still really struggling to understand.
I really tried. My attitude was like really open, and I spoke a lot with my hands, and like I spoke really loud just in case it helped, but it didn't really, and it was disappointing, actually.
So what else did you do? I mean, like obviously your host brother was really patient with you, which I think is so important for someone to walk with you as you're learning. But like, what else did you do to learn English? Of course you were immersed, but did you study any, read more, stop speaking Spanish? What was your sort of method?
Yeah, well, I couldn't stop speaking Spanish, but there was no one to speak Spanish with, so that was the thing till the first moment I arrived there. But yeah, like I started watching a ton of shows like Netflix and stuff in English, because I said, dude, you need to understand this accent, because it's really wild, and you're going to be living it for a long time, and you really need to get it. And I felt really bad. Like, it was okay if people wouldn't understand me, because it was like my fault, but I felt really bad when I couldn't understand people. Yeah. And that also happened. It wasn't only one way.
At least you had the courage to try, right? Because I remember the first time I heard you talk, it was like a little bit of, it didn't fully make sense in English, but you tried. And I think that was the most important thing, is that you just threw together what you knew. And it was very endearing, but it worked.
Yeah, I think that the key to my success speaking in English was that it was like the really open attitude and just trying all the time. At first, I used to spell out a lot of words. Like, if they couldn't understand me, I wouldn't spell it out, which was ridiculous, but it worked. So yeah, I always wanted to try it, and I was never ashamed of failing speaking, which I think that helped a lot.
That's so good.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that you also, like, made mistakes, like you used the wrong word or you said the wrong thing.
Oh yeah, and it happened a lot with because in Europe we mostly study like British English, and it's a little bit different from American English. And like there's some words that might be misunderstood. Like I used to ask for rubbers at high school a lot, and then I learned that it wasn't really appropriate, and I learned the word eraser, which is good, and that kind of stuff.
But obviously, you figured it out because you eventually got to a point where you were just one of the family and one of the school and even dreaming in English. What was it like the first time waking up realizing that wasn't Spanish?
Yeah, I felt like it was a great achievement. Like, dude, at last you got it. Like, English is becoming your first language for this period of time. I was really proud of myself. Like from now on, like you're gonna be able to live comfortably, like in a comfortable here way here, because it was really hard, like every day, all the time. I mean, speaking and especially me, it's something that I do all the time. I don't shut up. So like it was really disappointing. I couldn't speak at all. Like I wouldn't say a lot of things just because I didn't know how to, and that was really bad for me. I felt really bad about it.
Yeah, but you figured it out. And when was that? Wasn't that earlier than you thought it would be, right?
Yeah, because I thought, well, this is gonna take forever. That I don't speak English. People say that you get it really fast, but that's not gonna happen with me because my level is really bad. But it happened like somewhere around October, November, which was pretty early for me, I guess.
Because you got there in July, right? You were at first camp, so you were there from the summer you first arrived.
Yeah, it took me a while. And I think that it also helped that people, like in my community, got used to my accent. So it was like 50-50. My English improved and people got used to my English. So, yeah.
That's amazing. And you were like a big deal in your high school. You people like actually really got used to having you around, and so you were a pillar of the community. What was it like once you actually could talk and like sort of I think the hardest thing when you don't know the language is you don't know how to express who you are as a person, but once you did, what was it like going to school then?
Well, I remember people would come to me and speak, like, say a couple of words in Spanish, because like everyone knows a couple of words in Spanish in America. And that was a really cool moment because when I couldn't understand them, I was like, okay, dude, you can speak English, but they can't speak Spanish. So that was good for me. But from then on, like people would ask me a lot of questions about my country, and that felt really good because I felt that they were interested in me. And yeah, like I feel like my community got to meet me like much better when I spoke English better. Like at church, people would at first they wouldn't even say anything to me because they knew I couldn't answer to them. But then people would start coming asking questions and really ridiculous questions. But it felt like I was part of the group when I started speaking more English.
To church, is that like a normal thing that you did at home or brand new?
Yeah, it was brand new because I live like in a medium-sized city. I don't go to church. None of my friends go to church. None of my relatives go to church. So like church before the change, I know like religion was a thing, but it was like a really far thing. Like I know there's people who do it, but I don't really know anyone who does it. And then I got to Minnesota. It was like a 2,000 people town. It was a really, really small town. There was like 6 different churches, and I was like, dude, there's something wrong here. Like my point of view was it was that one. Like there's something wrong here. But then I understood that religion was really, really important for that people, and that I had to respect it because it was like one of the pillars of their lifestyle. And well, I had to adapt myself to that because I understood that if I wanted to become part of the community, I really had to be part of me in some way. And it was really cool because my host family was really, they really understood me that way. They knew I didn't really like going to church, especially on Sundays at 9 a.m. But uh, as I showed them that I wanted to be part of them and go to church with them, then they would give me more time with my friends, or I could get home later. So it was like a really good deal.
That's amazing. And you're really close to your host family. I remember when you left them, it was super challenging. Tell us more about your host family, like what you did with them and what makes them your family.
I'm an only child. I have no brothers or sisters. And when I decided to become an exchange student and I started doing my application, all I wanted was host siblings. Like I didn't care where to live or what kind of host family. I just asked for siblings, like close to my age, because that was something I really, really wanted to experience. And from the very first moment I arrived to that house, I feel like I was a member of them. Like I couldn't really communicate with them, but they were like really understanding me, my situation. They asked me a lot of stuff about Spain. Like they had me cook some Spanish food the first night. I also had American food. So like they were really supportive. They also helped me with taking some classes at high school, joining sports. Like they understood that my situation was a little harder than what they thought. And so I feel like a member of the family from the very beginning, and it was great. And that happened throughout the whole year. Like they were my family for me, and they still are. And I know that I always have some people who truly love me in another part of the world, with kind of some pretty cheesy, but it's true. And
Yeah, it's 100% real, right? Like there is a part of you that's always going to be in Minnesota. Yeah, I think you proved to yourself that it's totally doable, right? You didn't know you did know English, you didn't know a ton, but you made the decision to try, and it's just like you said, like you just got to be open-minded and put yourself out there. You're gonna look ridiculous,
I did. Yeah.
But now the funny thing about you is you're so comfortable being ridiculous in English now because you're like, whatever, like this is me. This is what you get.
Yeah, you're right. And I think that's me in any way. So like not just with English. So that helps a lot also. Like it helped me to learn English or to be comfortable with my English. I guess.
That's awesome. I think that your story is super cool because I think it's really hard to go on exchange and see people from countries that have stronger English levels and then feel like you're not good enough. But you are different.
Yeah, well, that was really hard. Like seeing people from different countries that I said, dude, they sound American to me. Like I don't care if he's German, Norwegian, or American. They all sound the same to me. And I was like, what am I doing here? But then I know that I don't like speak as good as they do, but I speak fluently and I feel comfortable. So.
And you have a family.
Yeah.
And a community and a home in Minnesota, and that's really all that matters.
Yeah, and I can't really wait to go back and see everyone again. Yeah.
So if you had to, I mean, I think you've already said so many perfect things, but if you had to say like just a few tips to somebody who's worried about their English levels, what would you say were the key things of making you successful?
Well, first of all, start learning more and more and more. Like, start listening to it, shows, music, read the lyrics of songs you like, and all that kind of stuff that can help with your English. But apart from that, just don't really care about it. Like, try, speak. If you need to speak 50% in your language and 50% in English, they will understand not everything, but half of it, which is more helpful than don't understanding anything, And just keep trying. Don't be ashamed of what you do and enjoy it.
I'm so proud and so thankful that 2 years later you're still fully you, and that you made it work, because you could have quit, you could have not tried, and you made it work. And it's amazing because now look at your life. You're in university, you're taking steps to do even bigger and better things, and I think it's just really cool, Andrew. Like I'm very humbled that you're here sharing your story with us.
Thank you very much. I mean, I love sharing and seeing people make it after I did. It's just really amazing.
It's so cool. And I know a lot of you are probably feeling that way too, if your English is good enough, or if you're ready for something like this. But hopefully Andrew's story is just proof that all you need is a little bit of crazy courage and your hands, I guess.
Yeah, I just
to figure it out. So if you have any questions for Andrew, whether you're from Spain or going to Minnesota or anything when it comes to feeling more comfortable in English, please write those questions below. We'll make sure that you get in touch with him. But again, massive thank you. I love your story. I know everyone else will as well. And keep it up. I can't wait to see what your third language is going to be.
Thank you. Yeah, it was great the opportunity you gave me to share this. So thank you.
Amazing. And thank you all for listening. We will be back next week with another episode of Real Talk.